Let us commence forth.
Yeah.
Was that a burp or was that a yeah?
It was a yeah.
It was a yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another PHATcast. Today, me and Tom and Gavin are going to be talking about Nintendo's year in 2023. Pretty big year for Nintendo, which is weird saying considering it was like the sixth year of the Switch or something like that. So yeah, we're just going to talk about the Switch's year, what Nintendo's got coming forward, what our favourite bits were, what our not favourite bits were. We might have a little conversation about that in a minute. So I guess we'll probably just start off by summarising the year and how we thought it went and if we were pleased with it or not. I guess we'll kick things off with you, Thomas.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hello, he's here.
Who said that?
Well, I think it's been a rather strong year, to be honest. There's a few games I didn't pick up, I didn't care about, but I know for a fact that I'm sure someone else enjoyed them.
Like what, Tom?
Bang Out Origins, for example. Don't give a shit about it.
I forgot that even came out this year.
Oh, that.
Yeah, just smaller games, I guess. Everyone want to Switch that as well.
Oh my god, that was this year as well.
I forgot that game existed. Nobody
But
bought it.
I do think that they ended the year off really strong. I'll give them that.
It was kind of weird, really, because they had such a strong first half of the year as well. And usually, from all the other years, or the other years' track records, it's usually the first half of the year is really weak, and then the second half of the year is non-stop. So it was kind of good that they had some consistency this year.
Certainly.
Yeah. How about you, Gavin? How are you feeling about this year as a whole?
This year was amazing.
Oh.
It was probably one of the best years for the Switch, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I agree.
I
do agree. I think I've said on my recent top 5 games of the year, I think this is one of the strongest Switch years that there's been. I think the only actual weak year for the Switch was probably 2018. There wasn't really...
No way.
What? There wasn't... What came out that year?
Smash.
Oh, one game.
Kirby.
Oh, two games. Yeah, and Kirby wasn't very good.
There was Torna.
There was Torna, you're right, yeah. But that's if you compare that to the frequency of games releasing every other year and the quality that there's been, I don't know. I don't think it's been. I think it's definitely the weakest year out of all of the Switch's years so far.
No, I think that's fair comment.
I still think 2020 was the weakest. We got nothing that year. What did we
get
in
2020?
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario. What was that, Tom?
Wasn't that the COVID year though, where it sort of delayed so much shit?
Yeah. I think. Let me try and remember what came. What was my game of the year that year?
Halo Warriors came out.
Oh, Definitive Edition. Xenoblade Definitive Edition came out.
Oh shit! Yeah.
That was still only one game, wasn't it?
There was Paper Mario, which wasn't very good. There was it's that Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. That remake came out.
Just came and went, I guess.
I do. Yeah, actually, I do suppose I get what you're saying. Actually, yeah, because there wasn't. I suppose that year, really, a lot of my favorite games were third parties. In terms of Nintendo's output, I suppose it was pretty slow. But I think that's why the last few years have been really good, because anything that they were probably working on and had to get delayed, it's all come out in the past couple of years, I'd say. Because last year in 2021 were amazing as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of sad to say, really, but I think I don't know. It's sad to say, but it's also weird because I still feel like there's stuff to look forward to this year. But I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely ready for the next system. How are you guys feeling about that?
Bring it on, I say. It's inevitable.
Are you feeling that way as well, Tom?
Yeah, same. I think you can see by the fact that the only games you know about are remakes and stuff. The
signs are on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the only original game that they're releasing next year, or that they've announced so far, is the Peach game, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Or Nintendo Direct next month, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did they? I'm trying to remember how they announced the Nintendo Switch Live event. Did they just Did they put out a tweet or something and just said, "Oh yeah, come and see the next chapter" or something like that, and then they just streamed it?
I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, really, because I can't imagine them. I definitely can't imagine it releasing this year. But I think I
Devin's
don't
behind
know.
it?
I can see it them going a whole year and not announcing the next system. If I'm being completely honest, it might be like an early next year announcement.
I don't know, but I know it's coming, and
Yeah.
I'm bracing myself for it.
Just before we go and talk about the games that released this year, I just want to get your guys' thoughts on the future and I guess how you feel about transitioning from like the Switch to the next system, because um, I don't feel like Nintendo's had a I don't feel like they've had a generation like this since probably like the NES or SNES, where they've gone from a very successful system that's still very healthy into the next system. You know, like the Wii, you could probably, probably DS as well, maybe. But like the Wii, for example, it sold a shitload, but you can look at like the way the games were selling toward the end of its life, and it was nowhere near as much as it used to be.
There
Whereas
was
the
barely any
Switch,
games at the time.
yeah, but if you look at games like Skyward Sword, for example, that sold not very well at all.
Three
And
million copies is bad to you?
So it's a bad Zelda game.
the quality,
It's
yeah, I say
not
quality notwithstanding,
bad.
it's not bad. It's just all right, but it for a Zelda game, for like Zelda and Mario, like 3 million on a system that had over 100 million people buy it is not good.
Well, to be fair, most people that bought the Wii, you only got it for Wii Sports and
This
barely
yeah,
anything else.
this is what I mean. Like
Casuals.
the majority of the audience for the Wii had left by like 2010. So any games that released after that we're not going to sell as well as when the Wii first came out.
And we're
Um,
starving. We're just starving for new AAA releases during like the last few years of the Wii.
well,
Especially
we got those. We got the
2012 was awful.
what was that? Sorry.
2012 was definitely a very, very mediocre year for the Wii. What did we get
Wasn't
that year? The Last Story, sure.
yeah.
Majora's Mask, yeah, good. Rhythm Heaven Fever, and not really anything else of note.
Well, I
We
mean,
were absolutely gearing up for the Wii U that same year.
even in
Yeah.
2010 though, like I mean, how many copies did Super Mario Galaxy 2 sell? Like it was nowhere near the first one, was it?
It was like 6 million, which yeah, that's only like half the original games.
Yeah, so like obviously the momentum of the Wii slowed down significantly. I'd say probably the DS was a very strong, maybe it was quite a strong system by the end of its life still.
Well,
Especially in terms of like Pokemon, for example. So
the DS just kept getting games released that people cared about
Yeah.
all the way
yeah,
through its lifespan, even into the 3DS era. The DS was still getting good support for a
yeah,
while.
I remember that was like a big thing because my friends who didn't have a 3DS were really mad when they finally made the plunge into X and Y. When Nintendo decided to release X and Y for the 3DS, they were like, "Why aren't they doing it on the DS?" I was like, 3DS has been out for 2 years, and you've already had a Pokemon game when it should have come out on the 3DS. So yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, I'm in a weird position with it because I've like collected so much for the Switch. It's definitely gonna be hard moving on, especially when I've still got so much to play on the system that I've already got, and especially because like we've come into it as I suppose I came into the Wii U like this, but I've come into the Wii U at an age where like I was earning my own money and stuff, so I could buy my own things, and like
Mm.
especially now I'm in a position where I can like buy what I want to. And so because of that, obviously my library is like ballooned to an insane size, and it's just something that like I just can't see myself ever catching up with, because of like the limited time I have now. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. It's gonna be a weird transition period, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the same. My Switch collection has really ballooned over the last
Mm,
year or two, and it's just all it's done is bloat my backlog to an
absolutely.
insane degree, but I don't regret it. I just got the games because I get to look at them on my shelf. Physical media forever.
It's a
Yeah.
very pretty console to collect for, especially when you've got all those the red spines on the shelf.
Plus, it's they're very small, so
Mm,
you're not gonna take up a lot of space just buying Switch games.
yeah.
True.
How are you feeling about it, Tom? Going into like the next
Oh,
system, because we've all come from obviously the Wii U was dire, and
yeah.
then we come into the Switch, which is dead exciting. But this is a very successful system, so
Yeah. I mean, you see every day rumors of the Switch 2, which
mm,
take with a grain of salt. But I think obviously if they make it backwards compatible, I think that would be a good thing for a lot of people.
Oh, they will. They have to make
Um,
it backwards compatible. How else are they gonna,
well,
transition everybody over?
exactly, yeah, and I think that because obviously the Wii and Wii U were similar, and then the Wii U went to the Switch, which was like a change of gimmick, I guess you'd call it. I don't think the Switch needs to do that. The next Switch, I think it just needs to be better with more power. You know,
I think
just
that's what
better,
most
I
people
guess.
want, really. The
It's
problem
Yeah,
is, I think, is that Nintendo's going to be like, yeah, but if we just do a Switch again, people are going to think, well, why do I need it? Because I already have a Switch. Like, that's their
yeah,
mindset. Whereas, like, they don't see that it's worked for PlayStation all these years. You know, it's the next thing. So it's like, oh, I need to get that. Um, so I don't really know. I don't. It'll be the first. Well, no, it won't be actually, because like they did it with the Wii and the Wii U. But I feel like the Wii, because it had such a fleeting presence, by the time the Wii U came out, no one would have even cared anyway. That like they were banking on these on the Wii frenzy from like 2007. They thought that was going to happen again. It's like no, of course it's not. People are bored of the Wii now. So, but people still love the Switch. So I think if they did do a Switch 2, there's still enough interest in that brand and the system to like push people to get the next system. Especially if they release it with like an amazing game, like hopefully a new 3D Mario game. That'd be fantastic.
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's talk of Metroid Prime 4,
Where
whatever
the
that's
hell
going
is
through.
that game?
Will that be a dual release on Switch 1 and Switch 2?
I
So,
actually think it might be. I actually think Metroid Prime 4 might be a launch title for the Switch 2 at this point. I'm actually thinking that's going to happen now because we have heard nothing yet. We know the Switch 2 is on its way. The
yeah.
new releases are looking to be very slow this year. I just think Prime 4 is going to be on the new console, straight up.
I think it might be on the new system. I don't know if they do a dual release. I don't know if they do a dual release for a Metroid game. Like I could see it for a Zelda or a Mario maybe. Um,
Mm,
but I don't know if if they think Metroid has that reach. I mean, Metroid Prime Remastered came out this year, and it's a bit like Pikmin as well that came out this year. But they sort like when they first came out, all the news outlets were saying they're selling crazy numbers and it's the best selling fastest selling game in the series or what have you. But the problem with like the Pikmin and the Metroids of this world is they're not like a Mario or a Zelda where they continue selling afterwards. Like they have this insane burst when they first come out, but they don't really continue to sell at a high rate after those initial probably like half year, I'd say. Not like your Mario's, your Zeldas, and your Pokemon's. Like they've even Breath of the Wild now is probably still selling like thousands of copies, even though it's been eclipsed by Tears of the Kingdom, but it's still selling so many just because it's one of the flagship titles. So I don't know if Metroid would be able to do that.
No, I don't think so. Metroid
Mm.
can't really carry sales like that. Metroid's
Yeah,
always been a bit niche.
I think as well. I mean, they should. But I suppose we'll get into the year now. But I think they should release Metroid Prime Remastered 2 and 3 first as well. But I mean, that's one thing I will praise Nintendo for this year as well. Is just to jump around a bit. But they released Pikmin 4, but then they also released Pikmin 1 and 2 just before it came out, which is something they should have done this kind of thing years ago when releasing games in long running series. They should have all the games there. And I've always said that the more games on the Switch, the better. So the fact that they did that was like perfect.
certainly.
And we got physical releases of it eventually as well. I was a bit scared when they first dropped it because I thought, hey, up.
I'm just glad they're re-releasing GameCube games. Why Nintendo? You do care about the GameCube.
Well, this is something that I wanted to ask you both actually. How do you feel about? We'll go with Tom first, but we'll go with you first. Sorry. I wanted to ask you about Nintendo shadow dropping stuff. Like obviously they did it. I think it was 3 times this year. They did it with Metro Prime Remastered, and they did it with Metro Prime 1 and 2. Digital first, and then they did release a physical later. But yeah, how do you feel about this becoming a trend, Tom?
I'm not too fussed about it. I think as long as obviously there's always an option for the physical edition further down the road. I don't mind them doing it.
Mm.
Like for example, when Metroid Prime was shadow dropped, I thought it was really cool, and I nearly downloaded it to be honest because I had to like wait a few.
Yeah,
Was it like a week or a month or something?
yeah.
Kind
It
of
was.
physically.
I think for us, was it? I think for the PAL region, it was like early March, wasn't it? Like America got it like a week before us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's very exciting when they do shadow drop things like that.
How do you feel, Gavin? Do you feel similar?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm.
I like to be surprised every now and then.
Yeah, and I think like Tom was saying, actually, it's a really smart business move, to be honest, because if you announce something like that, that's really hype inducing, and you can say, oh yeah, by the way, you can get it now. Everyone's gonna be like, fuck, and they're gonna run and get it, and then maybe once the hype has died down a bit, they'll be like, shit, I should have waited for a physical copy. But when the physical copy comes out, they'll buy that as well. So it's almost like, a lot of people might double dip. It's not something that I did, but I can see a lot of people doing that.
Yeah.
I try to avoid the double dipping. That's why
Mm.
I wait. I was wise to wait for Sonic Origins Plus. I knew
Yeah,
it
you
would,
were. Yeah,
and it did.
yeah. I want to disappointed with that because I know that I got Sonic Origins the digital edition, Tom. I think we both got it on sale, didn't we, for like £4 or something. So it wasn't
Yes,
like breaking the
quite
bank.
cheap.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about our favourite games of the year, really. I mean, I've talked about mine in my video already, so I'll sort of open up the floor for you guys. We'll start. Well, I guess we'll start with you again, Tom. But what were your favourite Nintendo games that you played this year? And like we said, there was quite a few released. So
Are we counting DLC in this or not?
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
had a busy year with DLC too. So
Well, right off the bat, obviously Xenoblade 3. I think one of the highlights kicked off the year. Actually, I think.
It was in April.
Oh,
yeah,
it was April. Shit! Wow, that was quite late.
I think it might be because they released the trailer in February for it, and that's when we all was all like, "Oh my god, this might be okay then."
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
But yeah, I watched your Game of the Year video, and pretty much everything you said about it in there, it ties up the series perfectly in my eyes.
yeah, because I think
A
we
lot of
tried to
fun.
get you on for the Fat Cast when Gavin and Espio talked about it, but I think you were still playing through it at that point, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have been.
yeah. So, I mean, how did you feel about Xenoblade 3 in the just base game, Tom?
I liked it a lot. I thought the music wasn't as good as the first two entries. But in terms of storytelling and combat, I still loved it. And obviously there was a lot of questions to be had towards the end of the game, which I wasn't sure whether they'd answer or not, to be honest. But they did for me.
Yeah, very satisfying in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you got any others that you'd like to talk about?
Excuse me, Gavin. Pikmin 4. I think Pikmin 4, Pikmin 1 and 2. I think they're always a joy.
Did you play Pikmin 4?
Yeah. I beat it, mate.
Did you do the post game?
What's he fucking happened?
Invalid opinion.
Wait, did you just beat the main game then?
I beat the main game. I've done some of the post game.
Okay, right. Did you do
I think I'm gonna go solo now.
Did you do the Olimar stuff?
Yes.
Okay. That was like one of the main surprises. So yeah.
Yeah.
The Pikmin 4 was fucking insanely good. Yeah. I mean, is it your favorite Pikmin game now?
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good games. I'm trying to remember what I remember for your play history, but apart from like Otto, for this year, I don't, because obviously, okay, we'll get on to the Zelda thing in a minute. We'll let Gavin talk about his thing, but you played a bit of Zelda, didn't you? But you didn't really stick with it.
Yeah, it didn't grip me as much as I hoped it would.
You guys.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Wrong.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Gavin, tell us about your favourite games of the year.
Tears of the Kingdom, baby. Woo! I don't care what you have to say, all right?
Okay, are we talking about this now then?
Well, yeah, it's
okay.
It's part of the subject of what was your favorite game of the year. There you go. We're talking about Tears of the Kingdom now. Look, I almost fell into a coma when you released that video of yours, and not only was Tears of the Kingdom not in your top 5, but you only rated it a V2 out of 5. I was ready to strangle you.
It was disappointing. I mean, okay. Start off by, because Tom didn't really play too much of it. Didn't really grip him. We'll start. Well, yeah, we'll hear about his opinion about that in a minute. But just tell us and tell the world. The world is listening. Just explain why you love this game. Share your passion.
All right, world, are you listening?
I'm listening, Gavin.
All right, Hey, listen.
She's not in the game.
Too bad. Anyway, Tears of the Kingdom was basically everything I wanted Breath of the Wild to be. Because Breath of the Wild, for as good as it was, as it was ambitious, but it always felt like it was missing something. I couldn't quite explain it, but then Tears of the Kingdom came along, and it actually made me realize what Breath of the Wild was missing. There was stuff to actually do in this big, massive open world. What
Mm.
could you in Breath of the Wild? What was there? There was the Korok seeds, some side quests here, the shrines, the towers. It was just mostly nothing but empty space. But in Tears of the Kingdom, they absolutely filled this world to the brim with all kinds of little things to find, to do, to see. And of course, with the fuse mechanic, this entire world is basically just one massive playground. It's just one of the best time waster games I've ever played. It's amazing.
I
The
definitely
only
agree with you
limit is
there.
your own creativity, your own imagination. I've seen some insane contraptions that people have made in this game, and I was like, wow, why didn't I think of that? That's incredible. So it actually really did encourage me to be creative with my problem solving. Sure, I can just escort this Korok over to his friend over there, but I should try to do it in style. Let me just strap a rocket to his back and he's there. He's where he needs to be in like 10 seconds of me finding him. It's
It
just a
does.
big Eureka moment. This game is full of Eureka moments if you can actually invest the time and the brain matter into it.
Oh god, if I had nothing but time, I probably would like this game a bit more. But, yeah, I mean, I mean, I think we feel quite similar about Breath of the Wild. Where I thought Breath of the Wild was a good game, but I just felt like there wasn't, again, like you said, like there wasn't a huge amount to do. I felt the world was well designed but quite bland. Like I almost felt, and I feel the same about Tears of the Kingdom in a way. I feel like I would have preferred actually being in the past and experiencing that story as it was happening instead of just being placed in a post-apocalyptic setting after all the interesting stuff is gone and having to relive it through random cutscenes that you find. It made the atmosphere interesting, definitely, but like that's something that cannot. I don't. The game cannot hold that forever, and the game wants you to put a lot of hours into it. I just think for the amount of content that was in the game, and how long it took, the world was too big for the amount of content in the game. Is what I was trying to say. But I didn't mind it too much in Breath of the Wild because Breath of the Wild took me maybe like 130 hours to invest time into, and I didn't mind that too much. Tears of the Kingdom like tripled the game's size. And yeah, sure, it gave you a lot more stuff to do, but it did not give you enough stuff to do relative to how much bigger the world was. And those, like you said, Gavin, like those time wasting hours, I felt it. I'd come off the game after playing it and be like, where have those 3 hours gone? I've not done anything. And then I look back at my inventory of the quests I'd done, and I hadn't gotten anything. Like the items I got were just the same rubies and random breakable weapons that I'd found, and I just thought like I could have skipped all of this, and my adventure will be like no different. Um,
Uh, I really don't think that's the game's fault. That was just the path that you chose to take during that session, really. Like
but
you're not always going to discover something meaningful. You're not. That's just the nature of the game.
Well, this is what I mean though. That I've been spoiled by games like The Witcher. Like The Witcher is a big open world game, and you don't always do quests that will get you good items or good gear and what have you. But what they do is they always have a world building, like characters, or they add stuff to the lore of the world, and it makes that world so much more interesting to explore. Zelda's way too simple for the size of the world. It's just it doesn't have the depth of a game like The Witcher. And it doesn't have the well written characters or anything like that. The main story, don't get me wrong, of Tears of the Kingdom is much better than Breath of the Wild. I do enjoy that. But again, it was almost written to be a sequel, but not. So like they don't really mention anything that happened in Breath of the Wild that much. I actually thought toward the end of the game they were going to mention, what's the link between Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf. They never mentioned Calamity Ganon apart from like a couple character bios. I just thought it was such a wasted opportunity. I think
Oh,
there's
yeah. They actually do mention the calamity at a bunch of Did you ever go to Impa's house in Kakariko? Because she actually still has the mural that depicts the original Calamity War.
I did see that,
And
yeah.
also, the school in Hiteno Village actually does have a lesson on the Calamity as one.
Yeah, the history lesson. Yeah.
Not only that, but if you complete every shrine in the game, you get something that actually ties back to the original Calamity War.
What's that?
Massive spoilers, but you get a piece of armor called the Ancient Heroes Aspect.
Right.
You become the ancient hero that's depicted on that mural of the original Calamity battle.
Oh, that's cool.
And you find out something interesting by wearing that armor, because it actually changes Link's character model entirely. He turns into his own eye.
This is something that I think should have just been the main story, though.
No, it was meant to be like a super special bonus for going out of your way to complete all those shrines, because there's 152 of them.
That's
It's also the best armor in the game in terms of defense, if you can max out its defensive power at the Great Fairies. It's very hard to do, but it's very powerful.
If it's a significant addition to the world's lore, I don't think that should be like something that's that well hidden away. Like little things, sure, like little things that you can add to people, characters' backstories and what have you. But something that would like tie those two games together. I think that should have just been there at the forefront of the game anyway. But and this is what I mean. Like, I put 240 hours into the game, and 220. Sorry, I put 220 hours into the game, and I would say only about 40 to 50 of those I was actually really enjoying myself. So when I first played the game, I was loving it. I was like, oh my god, this is it. I finally understand why people love Breath of the Wild. Like, this is it. And then it actually hit me, like, maybe, I think about 50, 60 hours in. I was like, oh no, wait, this is how I felt in Breath of the Wild as well. Like, I loved it at first, but then once you see everything, it's like, oh. And you do see everything very soon. Like, yeah, the world's full of caves to explore and what have you, but it's like, they're all the same. Like, structurally, they're different, but you don't go into a cave and there's not an interesting story behind it, or or even if like you go for a quest and there's like, oh, the bandits hang out in this cave, and then you get a little backstory about why the bandits have like moved to this cave or anything like that. Like, you don't get anything memorable like that. Like, you will not remember 90% of the caves in this game.
It's about the journey, not the destination. Also, do they really need to be like apply every tiny little thing in this game?
No, not every tiny little thing, but that's what I mean. Like, there's not enough. Like, if you had if it was a cup, it was like, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like having one of those big Stein October Beer Fest mugs, like a liter, or just like you get like a liter of beer in it or something. So the game as a whole is like that big massive jug, but the actual content in the game is like maybe a quarter cup, a cup full, and that's it. Like, the rest of it is just, it's stuff that's there to fill out the game, but it's stuff that you can happily skip and like not waste your time. And the problem is, I felt like this in Breath of the Wild, not as much, like I just explained, but I also felt like it in Immortals Phoenix Rising, which was essentially trying to rip off Breath of the Wild. And then when I did Tears of the Kingdom, again, I enjoyed all the stuff. I thought auto build was a really fun thing to find, and I actually discovered the Spirit Temple completely by accident. That was really cool. Those moments of that kind of discovery was so few and far between that it wasn't worth trudging through the rest of the game's world. For me, anyway.
I don't know. Isn't that? I always felt like the point of open world games was to explore and find stuff on your own and be like, oh, I'm glad I found that, or oh well, that was something, I guess. On to the next site, I guess.
Yeah, and like, that is part of it. Don't get me wrong. It like I said, when I first experienced this kind of thing, that's fun. But eventually, when I'm like, okay, like for example, I'll tell you my favourite bits of Tears of the Kingdom is something that Breath of the Wild didn't really do, and that was towns, like, or settlements. Like, Breath of the Wild was completely nearly void of characters, so and settlements because of like the calamity. Tears of the Kingdom has started rebuilding Hyrule back up. So you've got like these little settlements and towns that you can go to. And some of these towns actually really do harken back to like Windfall Island in Wind Waker, and like areas like that, where you have characters and their own little intricacies and relationships with other people's in the town. Those are my favorite bits of Tears of the Kingdom, because those side quests, even if you like didn't get anything meaningful from it as a reward, you got to learn about the people who lived in this village, and that adds to the world and makes it more immersive and believable. When I get, a side quest about going into a random cave and getting some random thing, and then getting 300 rupees for it, I almost wish I didn't do it, because there's so many other ways to get that, money in this game. I just feel like it's a waste of time. And I feel like a good example of this is there's a quest where you have to. There's like a riddle, amongst these statues in near the Lost Woods, and it's this guy, and he's like, oh, he's looking at these runes, and then the runes say something like, use the Fire Sage's power on the hidden corridor to reveal the secret. And I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. So you go around this ruins area, and you can find these different places to use your sage powers on to activate to complete these quests. And when you complete the quest, this statue raises up, and underneath it is this chest, and you're like, oh my god, what's going to be in it? And it's just it's shit. It's like some material that I specifically remember it was a ruby, I think it was, and I had a look how many rubies I had in my pouch, and I think I had like 170 of them, and I was like, I've wasted 10 minutes doing that quest for a shitty little ruby, and it's just a complete waste of time.
The gemstones aren't useless though. You can sell them, or you can use them to enhance your armor.
But I
They
didn't.
have
But I had
uses.
so much money, I didn't need to sell them. I could use them to enhance my weapons or my armor. But I already had a really good armada of weapons. There was no having something like that. Give me a better reward. Give me something unique. But like the game is like so ever evolving. And I'm not saying I don't like. I'm not saying get rid of breakable weapons or anything like that. I'm just saying when you give someone breakable weapons and devalue weapons as a whole, it's harder, and shields. It's harder for you to give the player something meaningful. So like auto build is a permanent addition and like a cool new ability. That's something cool to find. The clothing around Hyrule is sort of cool to find. Something that's really cool is in the depths you can find legacy items. Like you were saying, Gavin, you can get like calamity armor from doing the shrines. In the depths you could find like Midna's mask and honestly, a lot of the things you could find in Animal Crossing City Folk, like the Link's hat and stuff. You get to find a load of stuff like that, and you get to make the whole armor sets and what have you. But like that, those are cool to find, and those are fun things to find. But I just wish the world was just a bit smaller, because getting to these places it just takes so long. And like there's so many things that can distract you, but it's never satisfying to get distracted from. Like, I'll find a cave or a hill, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what's over there. And I go over there, and there's a Korok seed, and I'm like, okay, I'll do that then. And then I do it, and I'm on my merry way, and I'm thinking, what have I gained from doing that Korok seed? Nothing. I've just wasted time doing it.
Well, Korok seeds do lead to something. Extra space in your inventory. And you don't need to collect them all for that either. You only need like about 400-ish out of 1,000.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like once you've done enough, it's like I don't really need to do any more. So then it's like, but I don't like feeling like I'm missing out on stuff in the world that I could potentially find. The problem is, it's almost like you're always chasing the first high of the game, like finding all those your runes, and then finding a Gleeok for the first time. Those are all amazing moments, and you just like I'm constantly thinking, well, what else is there out there? And then I didn't find auto build till like 70, 80 hours in. So when I found auto build, I'm like, oh my god, what else is in the game is like this? There's nothing else in the game like it. So I'm always chasing that. Oh, what could it be? And I'm like almost like 80% of the time disappointed with what I get. And it's just after so long and so many times you've been disappointed by what you find. It's shit. In the end, I just didn't enjoy myself for a big portion of it.
It's about the journey, not the destination. But I guess. Well, I've already.
But the journey isn't very fun. That's what I mean. Like I was comparing it against The Witcher. The journey is like you get this character building on the way, and like this world building, and like you might find more stuff about certain enemies that were in the game, and how they interact with the world, and that's the journey. Then the destination is, oh yeah, and now I've got this item or what have you. But the journey in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, I never felt was anything like that at all. Only in those little settlement areas, which again, like I do really enjoy, but the world is way too big to have those. The world's way too big to have as many satisfying moments as I feel the game needs to.
It's a weird complaint though, saying an open world game is too big. If that's the case, you might like Scarlet and Violet because that's open world, but it's not massive. It's about
I
the same size as your typical Pokemon region.
well, I honestly prefer open zone games. I prefer them way more.
Oh.
I'm not an open world fan, if I'm being completely honest. The only open world games that I've really enjoyed are probably Skyrim and Witcher. But
Right.
I prefer, like, for example, Legends Arceus, like that. It's an
That's
open zone
good,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I much prefer that because I feel like it makes the game a lot more digestible.
You could also say the Xenoblade games are open zone games.
Exactly, and like that. But that's also a game where, and look, Xenoblade X is an open world game. Like you have different segments, but there's no loading screens if you want to run from one area to the other. But what does Xenoblade X have? An interesting world, an interesting quest, and interesting characters. Tears of the Kingdom does not have that. It's gameplay first, and that is completely fine. But when you make a world that big, with a story that thin, and a world that eventually uninteresting to explore, it just makes like 120 hours of the 240 hours experience just boring. But I've said it before. I said to you guys that I feel like, from a game development standpoint, it's actually like really interesting because it's a very well made game. Don't get me wrong. I've said it to you and Espio, and I can understand from like your and Espio's point of view. It's really interesting to mess around the mechanics and what have you. And if I was a bit younger and had all the time in the world, I feel like this game would be like amazing for me. But I've also said this, like, I'll say this to you now, Gavin. Can you imagine yourself playing through Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom again from the beginning?
No, I will be honest. No, I
Right.
for one thing, this one save file only. Secondly, well, they're massive, and I don't want to feel like, oh, I want to waste my time again doing all this lot again. No, I've already done it. I'd rather not do it again. I'd rather just keep my good memories of playing this game, not
Yeah.
not tarnish them with a second playthrough.
And I think that's the big thing because I can go back to any other Zelda game and replay it endlessly and have a fantastic time. These games are meant to be like these big big open worlds that you can play for hundreds of hours. And it's like, yeah, but I would rather have a 20 to 50-hour game and replay it endlessly than have a 200-hour game that I'm only ever going to play once.
I actually do agree with you there. I'd rather, well, I do prefer. I don't have a preference, but the short games, yeah, they're more easily to replay. The bigger games, yeah, I'll probably still enjoy it, but it'd be a one and done kind of thing for me. Maybe I'll go for
Yeah.
100% and then just call it there, really.
I
Which
think
is not a bad thing because again, I walk away with good memories.
Yeah, and like that don't get me wrong. Again, I enjoyed my time with Breath of the Wild for the most part. I just, I always when I go through a game, I'm almost in my mind. I'm always thinking like, I can't wait to experience this again. I can't wait to play this again. Like Xenoblade 3, I can't wait to play it again. Even Xenoblade X, which is this big open world, which I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know if I will play again. But because there's a story there and there's characters there that I would like to return to, and music I want to hear, within the game again. That's a game that I could go back to, but with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I don't have the urge to go back to. And a game that I can't replay from the beginning to the end again over the years is the game that really goes down in my estimations for me. I guess that's mine and Gavin's opinions on the game.
Yeah. Well, one last thing though about Zelda. Open world Zelda, can we all agree it should not be the new standard?
Agreed.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because I know you really like Tears of the Kingdom, but would you not like an open world Zelda in a brand new environment, like with a brand new map?
Well, I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, I think the open world genre is just a fad, and it
Yeah,
will eventually lose steam and die out. I just don't see this being Zelda's future going forward.
I guess we'll just quickly touch on you, Tom, because me and Gavin have ranted for a bit because we've actually played the full game. But
Wow.
did you play Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I beat Breath of the Wild.
Okay, beat Breath of the Wild. What did you think about that as like a whole?
I was gonna say when that first came out, it was really cool, obviously, because it was new. It was something different. It was really fun. Then you get to Tears of the Kingdom, and yeah, it's fun and all that. But the main addition, although like the crafting, not crafting,
Oh, the Ultra
the
Hammer.
runes, yeah, that stuff. It
Yeah.
wasn't my sort of thing. I'm not that creative, I don't think.
I think that's part of it as well. It's like it's almost in a way, it's like Gavin was saying, it can be really fun figuring out your own solutions to things. and it can be like a create your own adventure kind of game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly.
And that's one of the things like. Don't get me wrong, for a game like Minecraft, I think that's an incredible thing. But it's also one of the reasons why I will go off Minecraft for a long time, because eventually it comes to the point where you're like, well, I can't be asked just doing the same thing over and over. A Zelda game for me, I really like being tightly designed with a big focus on like puzzle solving, and I think that's something we can all agree as well. Is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they're not heavy on the puzzles. Like shrines. At least I think shrines in Breath of the Wild are actually loads better than in Tears of the Kingdom. In Tears of the Kingdom, I think they were very obvious what they wanted you to do, so you
Not
could create.
always.
No, not always, but for like the good percentage, I would say they're really obvious in what they want you to do, and it doesn't take much to solve them.
Well, it's all about how you solve it. Well, I managed to cheese a bunch of those shrine
Yeah.
puzzles because, well, you'd be surprised how broken Rewind is. It is not Rewind, Recall. It is stupid broken. You can break so many shrines with it, but at the same time, it makes you feel smart. It's still good
Yeah.
game design in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think that's something that does make the game replayable in those ways, because it's like you can always tackle a shrine differently. Whereas like in the older Zelda games, you always have to do like the same puzzle. But that's why I don't play like a Zelda game for a good couple of years, forget what the solution was, then go back to it. Yeah, I mean, you said that is that the main reason why it didn't grip you, Tom, was the Ultra Hand?
Yeah, because I think the dungeons are obviously much better than Breath of the Wild. Because
You had actual dungeons, yeah.
yeah, precisely.
These weird robots that you just manipulated, and then you fought Ganon.
Yeah, I think
Ganon again.
I
Here,
will
the
say
dungeons
like
felt a bit more, well, what I would want to see.
Visually, I think they were a lot better, but structurally, it ended up just being find these 4 things and then you fight the boss. It felt almost like a mini dungeon in a way. I think I got really excited actually, because like at the start of the game, I think it might be one of the shrines you go to. You end up finding like a small key in it, and I was like, "Small keys, they're back!" So like, I got really excited because I thought, okay, we're gonna have really intricately designed dungeons or maybe some shrines again. I think I might have come across a small key maybe like 3 other times in the game.
I don't believe it. I love small keys.
For me, it was an indicator of like the old Zelda design formula, like dungeon formula, and like finding keys and then going back to other rooms and finding more things and coming back. And look, the dungeons are not really like that. I actually didn't mind a lot of the dungeons, but they each have their own gimmick. I did not like the fire dungeon. Because I realized that it wants you to sort of use these minecarts to get from area to area, and I was like, why do that when I can just auto build a glider and fly across? And then eventually I just did that. And again, it's like the freedom of the game. But I like being. I think limitations can create, can be more creative sometimes, and can just give you more of a satisfying feeling in terms of like actually doing what they wanted you to do, but you realizing that that was actually quite tricky to figure out, and I'm proud of myself for figuring that out. But I also completely get the cheesing the dungeons and the shrines perspective, because I think that was a big deal in Breath of the Wild. Was I saw some crazy skips in some of the shrines of Breath of the Wild, so I can completely see why people enjoy that. I'm gonna guess it was not in your top 5 for the year then, Tom.
No, sadly not.
No.
Actually suck.
How many hours did you actually put into it eventually? Was it like 5? Or was it even that?
Me?
Yeah.
I was like 15 or 20, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was it?
That's still
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, I thought like you barely touched it. I thought you put like an hour into it and was like, no, not for me.
Tom just doesn't play games anymore. Is this what it's like being married, Tom? Because I don't think I want that now.
I said to Tom, I went, right, your New Year's resolution this year is I don't want to see a played for a little while on any of your games for on your activity log. I have not looked this year yet, so I guess I'll have a look later.
You're going to be scrutinized, Tom. Brace yourself. hey, he would do it to me.
No. All I'll say is, I'll go, all right, Tom, it's all right. Maybe next year.
There's always next time.
But I mean, that's something that in terms of like Nintendo games this year, I think Tears of the Kingdom obviously was like the big open world 100-hour game. Future Redeem was about 20 hours. There was also Advance Wars. I don't think any of you guys picked up Advance Wars, did you?
I actually did pick it up, but I haven't played it, and I don't know if I will. Advance
Right.
Wars has had the roughest time, hasn't it, on the Switch?
Yeah.
My God, it's not been very kind.
In general, I think it's had a rough time.
What, in terms of its release, or in terms of like the quality of the game?
Well,
Release.
everything about it, really.
Okay. Because I'll say that I have played the first game on it, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, that's good for you. But yeah, it doesn't really do the game any favors because it got delayed
Oh no, in terms of
a
like the
lot.
sales, yeah, it got absolutely, got dumpstered.
Shafted.
Thanks, Putin. But it finally came out, and when it did, everybody forgot about it and didn't care anymore. And then it sold
Yeah.
poorly. It was quickly forgotten, and apparently it didn't have the best development. Apparently the development was troubled.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw like there was a video posted in our Discord, maybe like a week or two ago, a couple of videos about Advance Wars development, and I don't know, it's one of those where like, look, you could say that, Metro Prime had a very rocky development, and you would not be able to tell in the original, in the final product, and I feel the same with this game. I didn't feel any sort of signs of a rocky development when I was playing it.
Apparently the issue was that nobody cared about it. WayForward didn't care about it. They didn't have like their best people working on it. Nintendo certainly didn't care about it. That's why they didn't market it.
But that's what I mean, though. Like, they might have said that, but that's definitely not how I felt about it. I thought the soundtrack was fantastic, really bubbly in that way forward sort of way. I thought that the animated character portraits, and I thought it was a very unique style, and I really liked that as well. The game ran really well. It had like a bit of slowdown sometimes when there was like a lot of it was mainly in the battle, not on the map. It was always a 60 FPS, but in the battle it was mostly 60 FPS. And there was a lot of content to the game. There was online battles, which I will admit, like there's one big flaw with the game, and that will be the fact that it was friend only for like online battles. There was no reason to do that at all. You had a map creator. Obviously, you had the two games in one. I don't know. I'm not disputing the fact that it probably was a rocky development, but I definitely don't. I don't. I think the quality of the game is still very good. I would recommend if anyone is interested in picking up that they do so, especially because I originally played Advance Wars years ago, and I played it with like the Fire Emblem mindset of you can't lose any units. Oh no, this is War. Like you can lose a lot of units, and you could be. I feel like in terms of compared to Fire Emblem, you can be a lot more tactical about it because you can sacrifice units. I'd say give it a play when you can, Gavin. I think you'll have a good time.
I might, but there is one thing I wanted to touch upon, and that's the art style. I'm actually very surprised how contentious the art style is for this remake.
Yeah.
Because I think it's actually it's pretty cool. It's meant to look like a tabletop game, and all the units are meant to be like plastic figures that move around on the board. I think that's actually a pretty cool concept, but apparently some people really don't like it.
If I'm being completely honest, I like how the game looks, but I remember when it first got revealed, I said I actually like how the game looks, but I wish you could sort of turn off the border of it being like a tabletop, and I completely see where people are coming from. I think it could have been a choice that they could have, like, you could have swapped between two different like graphical styles in that way. I completely get it. I understand why, but I think in general, people have a really weird disdain for that toy sort of look. They had it for Link's Awakening as well. A lot, that when that first came out, a lot of people were not happy about the fact it looked like a toy.
I liked it from the beginning, though. It was it was creative, and it was a cool way to be like faithful to the original game, but also like updating in a meaningful way. Certainly better than what BDSP did.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
can't
feel as
wait
well.
to rant about BDSP again, but that's not what this podcast is about.
Well, actually, while we're on the Pokemon subject, Pokemon this year, what did they release? Because it was actually quite a quiet year for Pokemon, wasn't it? Like they only released the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, didn't they?
There was
Detective
Detective
Pikachu.
Pikachu Returns.
Oh, yeah. Did any of us get that?
I
No.
got it, but I haven't played it. It might be some time. It's
Right.
low on my
your priority list.
playlist. Yeah. Probably because the first game was just okay, and this game looks like it's going to be just more of that. Also,
Yeah.
because I already know what they're building up to because I saw the movie. I already know where Harry is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you guys played the Scarlet and Violet DLC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you guys completed it, or are you still making your way through it?
Well, the epilogue came out only yesterday. I have yet to do that, but I have done the rest of the DLC. That's the Teal Mask Part 1 and Part 2 is the Indigo Disc. I have finished both of those.
Have you done it as well, Tom?
I've done Teal Mask and half of Indigo Disc.
Okay, so obviously I don't know any of it because I haven't played it yet. But how did we'll start with you, Gavin, since you finished it. But how did you feel about the DLC overall?
The Teal Mask I thought was just whatever. It was kind of on par with the Sword and Shield DLC, which I didn't think much of. But then the Indigo Disc came along and I was actually pleasantly surprised. The Indigo Disc is actually quite good. The battles that you fight, it's basically another Elite Four and Champion. Those fights are hard. My God, I missed when Pokemon was challenging. Was Pokemon ever challenging? That's debatable, but these were actually really difficult fights, even though I was fairly over leveled.
Mm.
It was refreshing.
Did they have what makes them difficult? Do they have
It's IVs.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
pretty sure because even though I said I was like 20 levels higher than them, no, 15 or so levels higher than them, I was not doing that much damage to them, and they were hitting me really hard.
They probably had like maybe some because I know that in I think it was BDFP they had like Cynthia's Pokemon had like competitive items and stuff.
Yeah, they also have really good items in the Indigo Disc. The teams actually do have good.
They're competent.
They're actually competent. They have good items. They have good move pulls. They have great coverage, type coverage.
I'm actually quite looking forward to doing that then because I actually did. I've told you guys already, but I did get the Scarlet with the DLC for Christmas, and I've just finished the Sword and Shield DLC, so I'm gonna jump into Scarlet sometime soon.
Yeah, but that said, even though I thought the DLC was in the long run worth playing through, they should not have priced it the way they did.
Oh yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, it was like 32 quid, even though it's not that much more than what you got with Sword and Shields DLC. Not only that, but the game still runs like arse.
Yeah.
The game still has so many graphical glitches, so many frame rate drops. We were told that they were trying to improve it. They didn't. And if anything, the DLC only made the performance worse.
I was going to say this. I heard the Teal Mask in particular ran worse than the base game.
It does. And then there are some areas of the Indigo Disc because you have the terrarium. It's like this giant dome underwater where they house Pokemon in 4 different environments. Some parts of that area, I swear they run at like 10 frames a second. It's inexcusable.
Jesus.
I know everybody keeps debating, oh, it's because they aren't allowed enough time to make the games. That is true. But you know what else seems to be pretty consistent? Game Freak just can't seem to get good programmers. Just look at every single Pokemon game. Yes, even the good ones. There's always something wrong with them on a technical level.
I think
even Black and White. My Pokemon Sacred Cow. They had that stupid, poorly thought out profanity filter.
What was that again?
The profanity filter on the nicknames. I don't know why.
Oh, was that for like Coppergragus and stuff?
It wasn't just that though. It covered all foreign languages that the game supported too. So, for example, you couldn't name a Pokemon Violet, even though it's a cool nickname, because Vile means rape in French. You can't use that word.
Okay, that's
they really did not think that filter through at all, and it was.
I mean, to be fair,
that they allowed it to happen.
That's a weird oversight, but I mean it don't have a huge effect on the game overall. But I know what you're saying. It's like, I mean, the thing is that Pokemon was not in a position where you'd like dog on every little thing back then because it was in it was in the prime of life. It was so good. Whereas now, any little thing that goes wrong, it's like Game Freak, and you shake your fist in the air.
It just feels like a lot of things have been going wrong with Pokemon lately. The Switch has not been kind to Pokemon, and I really hope it improves on the next console. All right, let's start. So we had Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Those games were fine. They were inoffensive. They knew what they wanted to be, and they were actually really solid and actually quite well polished for what they were. They were simple, but they had their charm, and I honestly can't hate them. Besides the capture mechanic, which I still hate with a burning passion.
I will quickly say. About Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. They're not games that I ever picked up because I wasn't interested in playing like a Pokemon Go substitute. What I will say though is that I do think they're really good for young kids because that's essentially my goddaughter's favorite Pokemon game, and she's 5 now. But she loves those, and she does struggle with the battles in the other games. And like I remember that I actually started Pokemon when I was like 9 or something. So like I was a bit older, so I could probably understand that, get my head around the battles a bit more. But like she loves catching the Pokemon, but she doesn't really like battling them. So when we've talked about like Ho-Oh and Pokemon like that, she's like, "Oh, can I catch them in my game?" And it's like, "No, you can't. In that one, you can't." So I actually wouldn't mind if another Let's Go game came out for like Johto or something. But I think that those games, like, I think they opened it up to maybe a younger audience, and that's not a bad thing.
I actually wouldn't mind another Let's Go game. Also, I will say that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they're actually really good games for like parent and child because it is 2-player co-op. Like it's
Yeah,
a great game for a parent to play with their kid.
yeah.
Anyway, so that's my phone. Let's Go. Then we got Sword and Shield, and yep, they were painfully average. Even though a lot of new Pokemon introduced in those games, I thought were amazing. The Applin line, the Dreepy line, love them so much. And I think Game Freak does too, because look what they did to Applin in the Scarlet and Violet DLC. They gave it 2 new evolutions.
Yeah,
They love that little apple, as much as we do. And then came the DLC for Sword and Shield. I didn't think it was very special.
Did you finish it?
I didn't. I zoned out. I was done with Sword and Shield at that point because I just didn't enjoy them very much. I thought the games looked absolutely awful. The story and region were terrible. The characters were annoying. I just didn't get into Sword and Shield outside of the new Pokemon that they introduced.
Wow.
I completely agree with that. I could completely agree with everything you said there.
Then came Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and I still think they're horrible. I will never change my mind on them, I don't think. They are the worst, and Ilka should never touch Pokemon again. It just feels like a game that nobody cared about, not even Ilka. They must have made it in like, what, 18 months? The game was heavily rushed. It released unfinished, like blatantly. The full game wasn't even on the cart.
Yeah.
If you didn't download the day one update, you had horrible placeholder battle themes, and they sounded dreadful. You didn't even have the post game. That's how heavily rushed the game felt and unpolished. And you could beat the game in like 20 minutes if you ran it on 1.0, if you didn't patch it at all. It just felt like the game had no passion, no time, no effort put into it in almost every aspect. It is such a throwaway title. It is nothing. It is complete and utter garbage. It is faithful to a fault, and I can't stand them. And I love the original Diamond Pearl Platinum games.
The funny thing is, I think you've not been on the PHATcast for a while, Tom, but I think this might be the 3rd BDSP rant Gavin's had on one of the PHATcasts. He really does not like those games. Did you play them?
I did, yeah. I thought they were average.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I didn't end up getting them because of the controversies before they released. It's really strange as well because it just feels like it felt like each Pokemon game took like another nosedive in quality from the last one. Like as they came out on the Switch, Sun and Shield come out, didn't look great, but it wasn't like a glitchy mess or anything. It was fairly well put together. It just looked like shit. And obviously it had some like the story and the cut content and stuff, but and then obviously BDSP came out and that was a complete train wreck, and then Scarlet and Violet came out and that was a complete train wreck. So it's
you forgot a game. You forgot Legends Arceus.
I'm not counting on that was a spin-off.
No, it's a mainline title. I liked Legends Arceus. I actually
explain yourself.
What is there to explain?
How is it a mainline title? Are XD and Colosseum mainline games?
No.
Then how is the Legends Arceus?
Because it was made by Game Freak.
I don't think that's what constitutes as a mainline Pokemon game.
They say it's a mainline title, so therefore it is.
They're wrong. They're wrong!
Cerebi said it is.
Fucking Cerebi can suck my knob.
Yeah, Joe Merrick is the biggest shill going, but that's beside the point. We're not here to cause drama. No, well, we've already caused a lot of drama with this Tears of the Kingdom rant, but look, whether you see it as a mainline or a spin-off, Legends Arceus I still think is the best Pokemon game on the Switch, and I really hope they do more of it. There is talk about like a Legends Celebi or even a Legends Kyurem game, and I would definitely take that over Gen 5 remakes. Do not touch Gen 5! I don't want remakes! Especially you, Ilka. back off, all right? Do not touch my sacred cow.
If you need to enlist me for war, Gavin, I'll go to war with you.
Yes, join my cause, Ben. You too, Tom, if you want to.
Join the fight.
Anyway, Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, the game's released and they run like shit. The graphics, while a step up from Sword and Shield, are still nothing to write home about. But I do like Scarlet and Violet. Legit, they are decent Pokemon games. If you don't mind the performance, they are enjoyable. Plus the story and characters were surprisingly really good. Some of the best since Black and White. Especially the Aries Neo stuff at the end of the main game. My God, that is just such good stuff.
I've heard good stuff about the story. I'm interested to dive in and see. I'm more interested to see what's going on. To be honest, like I think I said this on Twitter recently because I finished Sword and Shield DLC and I said that I enjoyed myself. And I sort of reevaluated how I saw Sword and Shield. And look, I'm not as hard on it now as I was back then. But back then, I was still, I still expected a lot more from Pokemon. Whereas now, I don't expect a lot at all. So the bar's just so low. It's almost like I can't be more disappointed than I already have been. I mean, how do you feel about Scarlet and Violet, Tom? Because I know I've seen you play quite a bit of them. So I'm assuming you at least like the games.
Oh, they're really enjoyable games. Like Gavin said, the performance is just a bit iffy and shitty. The new Pokemon are great. I enjoyed the first part of the DLC. I think I'm enjoying the second one. So yeah,
I mean, what did you think about Sword and Shield in comparison, though? Because I don't think I've ever really heard your opinion on
that. Sword and Shield came out when they said, "Oh, we're cutting the Pokédex." So obviously, going into it, I was like, "Yeah, that's a bit shit." And I thought the routes and towns were nice, but there weren't. It felt like there weren't many of them because they focused on this big, wild outdoor area, which looked shit.
Yeah. Well, the entire game looked awful.
It's weird because I was speaking to a friend who he's not like a massive into game or anything, but I think I've told you guys that he's a friend who me and him have been playing through the older Pokemon games together again. And he's recently got more into Shield, and I said I went to him, I went, I think the environments look shit, but I don't think the Pokemon look too bad. And he went, oh no, the Pokemon look like shit. And I was like, okay. So I took his opinion with a bit of a grain of salt because I know he's not massive into his games. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then the other day, on Sword and Shield, I caught Zekrom, and I was like, oh my God, his character model is so bad. It's so like jagged, and it looks like the texture of his face has just been like plastered over a model, and like there's no indents or any like facial characteristics. And I just thought, oh my God, yeah, he was right. They look bad.
Well, thankfully, Scarlet and Violet do improve the Pokemon. Like the textures are a lot nicer.
Yeah,
I think the lighting's a lot better in that game as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, the Pokemon models all around just look really nice, especially compared to Sword and Shield, where they were just up-resed from the 3DS games.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else came out in 2023 for Nintendo. Obviously, Metro Prime Remastered. We had Fire Emblem Engage, but I don't think any of us played that, did we?
I bought it. I played it for like an hour and then I dropped it. I will get back to it again, but Espio's playing it right now, and I asked him for his opinion not too long before we started recording, just for this podcast to get an idea. So let me just pull up what he said.
Oh boy, we're gonna be here for a good while.
No, it's just one paragraph. It's fine. It's not much.
Okay, I know what Espio can get like on his rants.
He says, in terms of story, characters, setting, and so on, it's about on par with Awakening, which that's interesting to hear because I know he holds Awakening in high regard. I do as well. Awakening is my favorite Fire Emblem game.
It's probably mine too.
Let's see. Meaning it's good, but nothing to write home about. In terms of mechanics, it's neat. Honestly, overall, it's just a solid, good game, except for the difficulty design in some parts. A few areas of the game seem designed to beat you down, but in a way that doesn't befit Fire Emblem. And that seems more worrying than challenging. Those moments sometimes throw me off and give me anxiety, and not in the good way. Definitely a must-play for Fire Emblem fans, but a far cry from the best game, I'd say.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
out of all the games he's played, what's he actually played? Awakening, Three Houses, Engage. He doesn't want to touch Fates, I know that much. So, yeah, that's not exactly a high bar for Espio.
Wait, why didn't he want to touch Fates? Is it because of the story?
Yeah, he just heard like the
Okay.
negative reception. He's like, I am not touching that.
Okay, that's funny actually, because I've heard people say that Engage is like the story's not very good at all. Like, so I don't know.
I do want to play more Fire Emblem. I actually went out of my way
Yeah.
last year to buy up all the Fire Emblem games I could, not just for the collection,
yeah.
but for the hopes of actually buying them. And I'm actually getting almost all of them. The only one I haven't got now is a new Mystery of the Emblem. I'm just having a hard time finding that game, but
Yeah,
I do want to play Radiant Dawn soon because I did beat Path of
you
Radiance a
did.
few
Yeah.
years back, and I actually want to see where the story continues because it's a direct sequel to that. And
I
then
think.
eventually I'll go to Three Houses and then Engage, but I don't want to have Fire Emblem burnout, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
play them
I,
spread out, not
I
one
did have
after
a
another so quickly.
I did have a plan a while back to because I got stuck on Conquest, Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, and then I just stopped playing, and I've never caught up with the series, despite buying all the games since. So I had a plan of like I'm gonna get through. I'm gonna start again on Conquest. I'm gonna lower the difficulty, so I'm not gonna be doing it for such a long time. I'm gonna get that through, and then I can finally catch up with the series. And I think I'm gonna try and do that this year at some point. Yeah, I'm gonna put some time aside and really try and focus on that because that'd be like a fun little project for me to do. Yeah, Fire. Yeah, I mean, Tom, have you played any Fire Emblem game? Did you play Awakening?
I played Awakening, played Fates, and played Echoes.
Oh yeah, you did play Echo. I remember that now. Yeah, did you? Have you not
Echoes
thought
is
about
my
getting?
favourite.
Okay, I bet. Yeah, we've got stuff about Echoes as well. Actually, you haven't got any of the Switch games?
I bought Engage at the start of the year when it was a really good price, but I haven't started it because I know I wouldn't.
You're very far.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's not saying because you'll be bad at it. It's more like just the time of
yeah.
getting into it, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, luckily, like the other games that Nintendo released this year weren't that intensive. You know, you had like Pikmin, which, to be fair, Pikmin 4 like had quite a lot of content. All considering, like, I mean, it was essentially like a Pikmin 2, and then it had like a Pikmin 1 on the end of it with like other Pikmin 2 elements. So,
Time to talk about Pikmin 4 then.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yes.
what a game!
What a game indeed. I don't know how to do it. Pikmin can do no wrong. It's always been consistently good. And yes, that
Yeah.
does include Hey Pikmin. I like Hey Pikmin. It's a spin-off, and I think they did it all right. Shut up.
Okay, I'm not joining your war anymore.
No, Hey Pikmin gets a lot of flack, but it's a spin-off, and I thought it's fine. The mechanics actually translate quite well to a side scroller, I felt. But Pikmin 4, oh man. Pikmin 4 is phenomenal. If it wasn't for Tears of the Kingdom, that would have been my game of the year, but it's actually very close. Pikmin
Yeah.
4 has less flaws than Tears of the Kingdom, but again, Tears of the Kingdom just had, just so much to do. Pikmin 4 was just very well put together as a whole.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very well designed.
It really feels like the greatest hits of Pikmin up to this point. It brings back the caves from 2. It basically has an abridged version of the Pikmin 1 plot with Olimer's shipwreck tale. You have
You even have areas like not directly from Pikmin 2, but like a massive callback. Like you have the engulfed castle,
yes,
which is
my
like the submerged castle, but you know.
yes, my worst fears from back in the day, and they're back.
Didn't they have like 3 water wraiths at once or something in there? It was ridiculous.
You must be thinking of the Leaf Sage challenge. There was like one
Oh
floor where you
yeah,
had to fight multiple water wraiths at once, and that
that's
was
the one.
that was Monka S.
Yeah. I mean, I found the game really I found it really challenging, but
it is challenging, but mostly fair. That is until you get to that freaking Empress Black's battle on the final dungeon. My God, that one can go to hell. What were they thinking? That's like a Kaizo.
Oh yeah,
crap.
I remember now. Yeah. The with the 2 like air spouts, and you've got to like attack her and then whistle and then jump over to the other side before she rolls over you. I don't know if you've seen this, Tom. It's evil.
That sounds insane.
Evil. It literally does sound like something you'd see in like a Kaizo Pikmin 2 ROM hack. It's the only bullshit part of the game though. Just that one thing.
I cheesed that to hell. I used the lightning and then to stun her, and then I just used the ultra spicy spray, then went to town.
I just spammed bomb rocks because you can throw them from a distance. I went nowhere near her, just throw a bunch of bomb rocks, and she was down. But other than that, I think the game is fair. It's so good though.
It feels great.
I think one of the best things about Pikmin 4 is its gameplay variety. Nothing overstays its welcome. I think every like big gameplay loop doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's in there for just the right amount of time. You've got the overworld exploration, you've got the caves, which is nowhere near as abundant as it was in Pikmin 2. They also aren't randomly generated, so there's less bullshit.
Which does come with its own drawbacks in a way, but like I said about Tears of the Kingdom, I'd rather have like a focused experience, and that's definitely what Pikmin 4 gives you.
Yeah, and you've also got the night missions, which were
a
lot more fun than they expected.
They were really fun, and especially the last two were quite challenging.
Oh, the smoky progs! Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god! When I saw, when's the first time you see the smoky prog? Is it?
It depends what you do first. You either encounter them first during the night missions or in the final dungeon. And I encountered it in the final dungeon, and I saw that egg, and I was like, "Oh, rat!"
Yeah. What was
and
was
then,
the night
and then
mission?
it starts shooting, and then it starts shooting the red stuff at you that kills Pikmin instantly. And I told SBO, you know what that red stuff reminds me of? It reminds me of Gloom from Tears of the Kingdom. And he said, it's funny you should say that. It actually is officially called Gloom in Pikmin 4 as well.
That's ace.
They knew what they were doing. That stuff lives up to its name because it will annihilate your Pikmin. It doesn't care. It doesn't discriminate. That thing is evil.
It's evil, but it doesn't discriminate. So, give it credit where its credit's due. I think I first encountered it in the night missions because it's where there's a night mission in the house, isn't there? And that's where yeah. But the thing is, like, I when I saw the egg, I didn't think anything of it. Like, it didn't bring up any memories or anything. And then when it hatched, like, I heard like the music or what have you, and I was like, what? And then I saw it like come around the corner of the settee, and I was like, fucking Smoky Prog. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like Gavin said, it was like a Pikmin greatest hits. It had like everything in there. I think it didn't have the Pikmin 2 final boss, did it? The
Titan Weevil? No,
yeah.
It had something completely different. And once again, that was a great final boss. I don't know if I want to say much more because of Tom, but it's a great final boss.
Oh
Hard
yeah.
But
it was challenging too, and it was more like it was probably more like
I don't know what it is about. I don't know what it's about Louis, but he makes the best final bosses.
Well, I think part of it as well is the fact that it was it's a bit more action packed, I'd say, like a bit more reactive than most Pikmin bosses. Because like most Pikmin bosses, it's like you got to strategize when to throw the Pikmin and when to pull them back. Whereas with this one, it was more like you have to dodge attacks, like a bit more like a platformer boss in a way. But I suppose that's why you can like ride Ochi, for example, so you can do things like that. Who I think it's a fantastic addition to the game, even if he does absolutely break it in two at points. But
yeah, but I think it's fine because you have to work to get him to be broken. You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not broken from the beginning, like say the purple Pikmin.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad they kept the purple Pikmin like insanely busted like that. Yeah, they shouldn't be nerfed like they were in 3.
Yeah, that was cathartic to do again after all this time, not being able to do it.
And the rewards were really great too. Like, not to spoil things for you, Tom, but like I think the gifts from the Leaf Sage in particular was like, I mean, to be fair, it was the last thing I did in the game, so I didn't get to make use of them. But like, if I got that earlier, that would have been really cool. I think you didn't get them until the right at the end as well, Gavin. Did you?
Yeah, I saved it to the end because I get the impression that this is the hardest challenge.
Yeah, that's how.
It makes sense to do it at the very end, and I did.
Yeah, and you're almost like, oh shit, I guess I didn't really need to grind for that then.
Yeah, it definitely would have helped if I did it sooner because the reward is good and it would have came in handy sooner, but that's just how it is.
I loved collecting the treasures as well. I said this in my video, but I love I think it's one of the reasons why I like Dragon Quest treasures so much as well. Like as long as the items are interesting to find, I don't really mind too much. Like the treasures in Pikmin 2 were fantastic, and they were fantastic here as well. Like I almost wish we had more just game items. Like I loved finding Game Boy Advance game packs and and Joy-Cons and like interesting stuff like that. Oh, I love that stuff.
There was a Wave Waste Bluestorm disc.
Yeah, like like really obscure stuff to really popular stuff. It was like a great variety.
And there was a Green. I don't know how to say that name.
Say it again.
Kurin game cartridge. There was even this was actually this was actually like an obscure one, but there was a second GBA cartridge. It was Shin Onigashima,
Yeah,
which was
yeah,
actually a Famicom Disk System game that did get ported to the Game Boy Advance as part of the Famicom mini series in
yeah.
Japan.
I think what was the because there was I can't remember if it was on the gaming bit, but there was those two music boxes that you can get that have Nintendo
There
songs.
were three of them.
The
Oh, the three of them. You're
yeah.
right. Yeah,
There was the one that played the Pikmin 3 tile theme. There was
Yeah.
one that played the Piranha Plant Lullaby from Mario 64, and then there was one that played the Song of Storms from Ocarina of Time.
Oh, when that one played, because you can hear them in the overworld as you're like trying to find them.
You can even play them in the Treasure Hoard.
Yeah, you can. And like when I first heard the music, though, I was like, "Wait, is that?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" It was fantastic, and it was certainly very close to being my game of the year as well. Did you guys play the Pikmin ports, like the Pikmin ports of 1 and 2 at all?
Yes, I actually
Yeah.
I waited for the physical release.
Same.
I actually prefer them over the GameCube originals just because they're a bit tighter.
Oh,
The my only issue with these ports is that Pikmin 2 lost its product placement and you can no
yeah,
longer soft
yeah.
reset the game.
Yeah.
So if you ever saw me going on Pikmin 2 and then 30 seconds later, Pikmin 2, that's me soft reset because I lost a Pikmin in a that's me. I had to close out the game and reopen it because you can't soft reset.
That's the Fire Emblem in you.
But other
As soon
than
as
that,
someone dies.
yeah, it is. Other than that, yeah, it's a polished version of Pikmin 2.
That's really good to hear because I do plan to play through the other games again soon because I didn't even plan to get Pikmin 3 for the Switch, but when I saw that 1 and 2 were coming to the Switch, it was like I need to get 3 now to have like the full collection. So having
Yeah.
all 4 of those games on the Switch is so good.
Yeah, I'm glad I double dipped with Pikmin 3. I got the Switch port
Yeah.
only because SBO showed me the new stuff when he visited not too long a few years back, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
I'm sold on Pikmin 3 Deluxe now.
I actually
Yeah,
feel like really good
get
because
it.
now I've played 4 again and we've done some of the Dandori multiplayer games. I might actually be able to join in with you guys if you ever play Bingo Battle again because that was something that I was always like, oh, if I wasn't like so out of touch with Pikmin at that point, I probably would have joined in, but. Just quickly to finish off because I've got to head off in a minute. But I just wanted to quickly talk about the end of the year, but more specifically, I wanted to talk about WarioWare Move It and Super Mario RPG.
No wonder.
Did
No wonder.
you want it to? Have you? Sorry, did you play either of these two, Tom?
I played Mario RPG, and the first time I played WarioWare was yesterday,
Oh,
just to get a feel of it.
okay. Did you? Give us an opinion on both games.
WarioWare, fucking hell. It's nice. It's nice to feel like you're playing smooth moves again. Because what was it? Was it WarioWare Get It Together? The other Switch one?
The other Switch one, yeah.
That was nice, but obviously, this one is more.
It's a bit more accessible.
Yeah.
It's I think you guys figured out when we played Let's Get It Together, when we initially played it before you got it, Gavin, was that if you don't know how the characters control, it can be hard to get into. Whereas like a normal WarioWare game, it's like just press the A button when this thing appears on screen or what have you. It's a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
For a party game, anyway. The only thing I said about it is I feel like, and you might find this as well, Tom, if you've ever played it solo, but that it's not great as a single player game. I definitely think Let's Get It Together is the better single player WarioWare. But I think Move It is probably going to be the better multiplayer one.
Yeah, don't they have? Isn't the Doctor game in this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think you might have to unlock it, but yeah, when we get together, we definitely need to play it. I know that our friend Luke was playing it recently, and he said it was a really good party game. So we'll have to definitely play it next time we meet.
Nice.
All right, put that on the list then.
Absolutely.
Well,
How did you feel about it, Gavin?
Now it's my turn to be controversial because I'm not particularly kind to WarioWare Move It. I did not really like it. All right, so the previous two WarioWare games, we had Gold on the 3DS, which was awesome, packed with content. It was a great swan song for the 3DS. Get It Together was a very interesting way to move the series forward, actually playing as the characters themselves. There was massive balance issues. Nobody wanted to be 9-volt or Cat and Anna because they were just straight up bottom tier on purpose. But again, an interesting direction for the series. With Move It, it's more like smooth moves. uses motion controls with the Joy-Cons. These motion controls suck ass. I'm sorry, but no, this is not good motion controls.
Some of
At
the
least
positions that they want you to put you in some of them can be a bit dodgy.
the problem is, they want you to react too quickly. I feel the thing with smooth moves is the motion controls on the remote. They're already very simple, so it was never too like demanding. It was always simple, and it actually worked because it wasn't trying to do more than it could. But with Move It, I felt like they bit off more than they could chew. Personally, these motion controls are sometimes too overly complicated, or they just don't work. I have had instances where the motion controls just fail to work on me correctly. There's this one micro game where you have to like you're like a hiker marching up a hill, and you have to do like the marching with the Joy-Cons in your hand. For some reason, I just randomly stopped moving, and then I go to do the march again, and he starts walking backwards for no reason, even though I'm doing the same movements. And then there was a micro game where you have to fill a bucket up with water to douse a house fire.
Yeah.
That just stopped working randomly. And then there's the boss micro game where you have to turn the meat over to cook it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
that one's just unintuitive. I hated that.
I will say the ones where you have to like, I thought using the wrist straps was like a genius concept, but like the ones where you have to put the Joy-Cons down is like, I don't know, because like, I have a table in my room, so I could just put the table in front of me and use it that way. But it's almost like you have to have a setup to make the game tolerable from those instances. So like, if I didn't have the table, I'd been like, what? So to put it on the floor every time? Like, yeah, I wouldn't have been about that.
That's another problem I had. So, what was it called? You have to. Oh no, there's the form where you have to actually let go of your left Joy-Con, just leave it dangling on the wrist.
Yeah.
And then you grab hold of the right Joy-Con with the left hand, and you have to use the AR camera on that Joy-Con.
That took me so long to figure out how to do that properly.
Yeah. There's a micro game with that form where you have to catch a fish on a fishing rod. So you actually have to let go of the left Joy-Con. But here's the thing: I was in a rush to get it done because the game doesn't give you much time to change form, and you have to like fiddle about with your hands and the Joy-Cons as you get into position with that one. So you basically let go of the left Joy-Con because that's your fishing rod, and you have to pull your left arm up to catch the fish. Here's the thing, though. I was in a rush to get to that stance. So my left Joy-Con was swinging wildly on my wrist. So what happened was my fishing rod gets dipped into the water, but then without any proper input from me, I bring the rod up without catching the fish, and I failed the micro game because my Joy-Con was swinging wildly. It was not my fault because I was only trying to do what the game told me to do, but I was in a rush to do it because you get so little time to actually get into form. It's actually mind-boggling that they allowed that.
It's funny as well because I do imagine going from like the meat game, like if you're doing like a multi-form one, imagine doing the meat game where you got the I think it's called the pounce or something, and you put the Joy-Cons on the table, and then it's going dead quick, and you finish it, and it moves to the next one dead quick, and you have to do the IR camera, and you have to take that really weird stance all in the space of like half a second. That's a bit ridiculous to expect, to be honest. So I can see where your complaints come from.
Yeah, it's like I said, with smooth moves, it was at least simple because that's just how the motion controls were. They were simple, they weren't complicated at all. With this game, it just feels it's unintuitive, is what I would describe Move It.
Yeah. All right, okay. Let's quickly talk about Super Mario RPG and wrap it up because I've got to get going. But Mario RPG, Tom, did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished.
Did you enjoy?
Yeah, pretty much. I enjoyed the original.
Did you play the original? Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was.
It was
looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I never played the original, and I never had sort of like nostalgic feelings towards it. But I could feel like it was a game from the 90s, and the isometric view, and the music was fantastic, and the more simple combat and the more out there Mario character designs, like it was fantastic. I had a really good time with it. And I'm assuming we could talk. And Gavin, you can jump in now and give your take.
The Mario RPG remake. That's how you do a faithful remake. I think it's splendid.
It was very faithful.
Yeah, but the good kind of faithful. The characters they're meant to be reminiscent of their actual 3D renders from the game, like the
Mm.
promotional artwork for the game, and they do look nice. Plus, Yoko Shimomura came back to redo the music. I'm so happy about that.
Oh
The
yeah,
new
it was
music
good.
is amazing.
Yeah.
The
And I
platforming,
love the fact that you can go back and do the original soundtrack if you want to.
yeah, and the platforming is a little better. I always had problem platforming in the original because of the isometric view, and also because Mario controls just so loosely in that
It
game.
does, yeah.
He still does now, but the fact that the game is actually proper 3D rendered, it's a little better to control him with platforming, but it's still not great. But other than that, yeah, a very good remake. I'm glad I checked it out, and I did finish it. It's great.
I do. But the only criticism really was the fact that I feel like some hidden blocks could be ridiculous. I did
That's
not
why I want
expect them
to
to
go.
be like so cryptic because it's a Mario game, so I expect them to be in like obvious places. But credit to them, they put them in some. Some of them are like really weird because obviously the game can be sort of laid out in like a tile format, and some of the chests you have to like jump off half a tile into the air to get the chest. And I was like, okay, now I know what I'm in for. This
That's
is
how
going
it
to
was in
be
the
a bit of
original,
a fun.
though.
Yeah, no, I'm not. It's not really. I guess it is a criticism because it's just something that I didn't expect from a Mario game. But yeah, it definitely took me for a loop. Especially, I mean, they did actually fix a missable one at the start of the game as well, which was nice.
Yeah, the one in Peach's castle. Having to jump
Yeah,
off a sword as he's darting off to the throne room. That was just stupid
the
in the
first time
original.
you went to the room as well.
Yeah, you only get one shot. Failed it?
Yeah,
Reload your save.
yeah.
That's stupid. Now I know you have to go, but I have to mention Super Mario Bros. Wonder because I think, Ben,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
you are an idiot for not playing that game. You picked Sonic Superstars over Super Mario Bros. Wonder, an actual good game worth playing. What is wrong with you?
How was I supposed to know?
Look, take it from me, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it lives up to its name. It is wonderful. It is great. On the surface, it looks like just another new Super Mario Bros. Game, but it's not.
Mm.
The Wonder effects, you have to experience it for yourself. I actually don't want to spoil them because they are amazing, and they rarely repeat too. Nearly every level has something new to show. It is actually such a great game. It's a lot
I
of
like the
fun.
world map.
The
The
level
world
design
map's
is
really
on point.
nice.
Yeah,
Mm.
the level design is really on point. Probably some of the best in any 2D Mario game. The world map is great. The online multiplayer did not need to be as good as it is for what it is. You don't directly interact with other players, which is a godsend, and you can actually like help people out too because you can act as like respawn point with your standees, and you can also like show people where secrets are, and it's just it feels good, and you actually do like communicate with like signs. It's great.
I think I will look at. Yeah, I think I will look into getting it because I mean, I was going to look into getting it over Christmas, but I actually got like a gift card for Christmas, so I might actually use that on Mario Brothers Wonder. I'll have to see because it's one of those where like I think like there's so many games that I've still got to play that I'm wondering when I'll fit it in. Really,
Wondering when.
Not a long game. It's not a long game, all right. It's about 10-15 hours. Even if you go for 100%, it's not that long. It's about your average 2D Mario fare when it comes to Lev.
The bosses are a letdown.
The bosses are a letdown, although the final boss is great. They did stuff with the final boss I didn't expect them to do. It's actually rhythm based, and that's as much as I'll say.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we've talked about Nintendo's 2023. I think pretty extensively actually. I actually forgot about Mario Bros. Wonder at the end. So, but yeah, overall, fantastic year. Like we said before, really interesting seeing what comes next for Nintendo. Obviously, I know we're all looking forward to the 1000-Year Door remake. That's like a given.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get on, Nintendo. You do care.
I know. I nearly cried for the day that it was announced, but
I remember what happened that day. Yeah, you were at work, but I was watching the direct at home, and I just texted you saying "ah," and you replied, "What? What's ah?" 1000-Year Door remake. Oh my god! Ah.
I think I don't know if I told you, Tom, but I was at work and there was a guy who sort of like just read out what was announced, who I work with because he was into it as well. And he was like, yeah, there's this, and this. And I had a look at the list and I was like, oh, okay. And I think the direct was still going on at the time because the 1000-Year Door remake hadn't been announced. So when Gavin said, I was like, what's he arguing about? In the page? What's like And then when he said Thousand Year Door, I was like, wow! I turned into freaking Wario. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. We'll probably be here soon with another PHATcast, I imagine, to do with hopefully the next Nintendo Direct. But we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So long, farewell, okay to saying goodbye.